I'd like to start with your why. So I know the Community Collective was started during the pandemic. Did the pandemic inspire you to do this, or was this something you were always just looking for that moment to create?
A little bit of both. In fact, this is something that my family has done, not at this level by any means, but something kind of privately we did as a family for kind of a hobby, something to do to teach our kids to look outside of their privilege and look at ways to give back and spread kindness. And then when the pandemic happened and my industry kind of went down and we weren't able to work, I created a group that initially was set up to encourage people through positive photos and videos and storytelling and things like that. And through that storytelling, I realized very quickly the need that was in our region in terms of food and comfort and just regular checking in on friends that started out as strangers and are now friends. And we, as we continue to evolve in the group, we started to see more needs in our region that we felt like we had enough love to give and enough resources to be able to pull that off. And at the beginning, it was just myself. But as I grew and realized that I couldn't do everything on my own, I started to bring some really incredible people on board as administrators to help me to make this possible. And now I can't imagine doing it without them or just what would have happened if we wouldn't have started, if I didn't start this group and where we would be today, without it. So it's pretty exciting to see it all transition into what it's been today.
Mm. So tell me about what the 519 Community Collective does. Who do you advocate for, and have those goals changed and evolved as you've progressed? Were your goals similar at the beginning as they are today?
Yes. So in the beginning, we really essentially were just giving out food hampers. I would go at the beginning right into my own pantry and take food out of my own stock to give to folks, and just kind of prayed and hoped that one day that would change and that we would get donations that would come in and I wouldn't have to fund it on my own because I wasn't working and I was getting worried about that. And that thought and putting that out there really blossomed. And when I put it out into the group, just kind of thinking, we'll see what, if there's any response to this, see if anyone else wants to help get involved with this and if they see the need too. And it was pretty incredible to see that folks were on board and then some. When they heard that there's a need for a lot of families, single moms, a lot of folks moving out of shelters that are literally moving with nothing into a new place, don't have anything in their fridge or their cupboards, they don't have essentially anything and no funding to get it. And when I kind of started figuring out that I could corral the community that I've built to look around their house, see what you have that you don't need, and see what we can provide to these folks. And once that started and we started going out, we realized we're connecting with other agencies and things, learning more, developing what we're doing as a community. I realized that there was a huge need for folks living on the streets as well. My family and I have been giving out our leftovers for as long as I can remember downtown. And that was just something that my kids have been doing since they were toddlers. That's just something we did. But then realizing that we now have this amazing community of people who want to get involved and want to help, I thought instead of 10 meals a week, we could do 100 meals a week, or maybe even 50 meals a day. Let's see what we can do. And we just started getting people involved at all kinds of levels. And now we're able to provide a lot of hot, nutritious meals into the community at different locations, Waterloo, Kitchener, Cambridge, to people who are food insecure and living on the streets. We have our emergency food hamper program where we're giving out food hampers to folks in need. And then we have our Restart program, which essentially is a program that helps folks to just get started in life. A lot of people had to start all over. They have nothing. And we've been able to facilitate a furniture program and a household program where we're able to help people furnish their homes, all for free. And we have an amazing administrator, Rick Weber, who has really taken the lead on that. And Rick said the other night when we were helping a guy who was homeless. We were looking for something, and Rick said, if Rick doesn't have it in the truck, you don't need it. And it's so true. He's so handy and has, he's just an amazing asset to the team. But it's amazing to see how this storytelling group of positivity and spreading kindness turned into literally spreading kindness, not just in an online way, but literally helping families start over and advocate for people as they, go through sobriety and have to get clean and do all kinds of new uncomfortable things, but we're there to support them and help them through that.
So, I mean, this speaks volumes, that one person can create massive change, and that is just by starting this initiative and having people, birds of a feather, they just gravitate towards you. How are you able to balance all of this and not burn out, and not are you able to take time for yourself and do some self-care and spend quality time with your family, or is this like a 24/7 job for you?
Yes. So at the beginning, it wasn't 24/7, and then it became 24/7. And even with my administration team over the Christmas holidays, I'm not going to say I didn't burn out. I definitely did. It was a lot to take on, and we were just expanding so quickly. And the momentum was so beautiful that I didn't want to halt it, because I was afraid that if we do that, that might, we might miss a connection or a lead that could have been amazing for the community. So we just kind of pushed through it. And I have to say, I'm very grateful that I am very happily married to my very best friend. And he not only supports this ministry, it's something I just kind of threw at him one day and was like, hey, by the way, I'm starting this thing. What do you think about it? And he has been nothing but supportive all the way through. My administration team sometimes just yells at me and tells me to turn off the phone or back away from the computer, because it really has become a full-time job for me, with all the different initiatives we have, and just we're continuously trying to grow. We're not content with where we are. We want to be bigger and better and be able to offer more resources, become connected with more agencies. And the ultimate goal is to become a not-for-profit and to really make this something that's a viable community source resource for the entire region.
So we often hear, especially during the pandemic, there's a lot more positive messaging going out on social media. Be kind, be compassionate, give to others, use empathy. But you actually put something else out there that I made me stop and think for a moment, and that is be humble. How important is it, in times like this, especially when the need is so much greater than it's ever been, to remain humble about anything it is that you've done, and how are you able to create an environment that stays humble while they are out in the community giving to others?
Absolutely. This is a question I get asked a lot. It's also something I get called into question about a lot. I know that I have a boisterous, bubbly personality, and sometimes that might come off as me not being humble. But the reality is, I really just care about these folks, and that's just the truth. And I know that my administration team does too, and all of our volunteers. And if it wasn't for social media and us sharing these stories, which some people may interpret as exploitive or being boisterous, the reality is we wouldn't have 4,500 members graciously giving the way that they do if we were not on top of our social media. Part of being humble is just accepting that it does take a team. It does take a group effort. I realized very quickly early on that I couldn't do it myself, and I had to step aside and let other people help me. Any grassroots group or different agency or organization or people who want to get involved and think the same way. At the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters. So I'm no better than any of the folks living on the streets, and that's just the truth. And we've had many conversations where I say many folks that are living in nice homes, we're only a few paychecks away, most people, from being in that same tent next to them. So you really have to keep a humble attitude so that you can build and foster those relationships with those folks. Because if you come at it in a certain way, they're not going to receive that very well, and you're not going to be able to make those relationships. So I think for myself, just recognizing that it takes a team, and yes, it does take a leader to make these moves happen and corral the group. But there I go by the grace of God, and that's how I treat this entire situation. And I'm just very grateful to be the vessel to spread this kind of love and kindness around the region.
Tell me about how you prepare yourself and how you train your volunteers to go into some of these situations, not blindly, and knowing, what they could perceive or what they could experience while they're out there doing good in the community.
Absolutely. So we're very transparent with all of our volunteers. We have no choice but to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been very careful about the volunteers that we allow to be a part of certain advocating. There's a lot of vetting that goes on with that. We need these folks to be able to trust. We need these folks to be able to know that we respect their privacy, and that even though they might be in a vulnerable situation, we are here to help and not to exploit them or make them feel uncomfortable or embarrassed. And that's one of the number one things with our volunteers, is we want to make sure that everyone's going into it with the attitude of what we just discussed, about the humbleness, and that, we're not being, oh, here's all your groceries or anything like that. It's being kind and things like that. And we've have a volunteer form that we have all of our volunteers fill out. It's taken some work to get it to where we want it to be. But with all of the changes in the government lockdowns, we've had to really pivot and continue to add things to that to make sure that people understand the different situations that they're walking into, and to understand that we are also in a pandemic. So some of the safety protocol that they need to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the places that we do outreach at, you really just never know what's going to happen. I mean, people say things, people act erratically sometimes. Sometimes people are angry. Sometimes there's a fight that breaks out. But thankfully, we have never had anyone be in a situation that has been, unsafe. So we do also not recommend folks to bring their kids under the age of 10 to outreach. There's other outreach opportunities that kids can get involved with that are more safe and are a little less, intense, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely like to plug our volunteers into the right spot. So if someone says, I want to volunteer, I am comfortable with this, this, and this, then we'll have an opportunity for them. But if someone's interested in getting right down to the street level, then we're here for it, and we're happy to have them on board too.
You talked about how busy you were over the Christmas season. I read that you were able to wrap and give over 5,000 gifts in the community. And you also had a very busy New Year's Eve. Talk to me about that.
Yes. So again, our community just is so incredible. It's like, I feel like a proud mom. It's just amazing to see how the folks just stepped up. We were able to facilitate sponsorships this Christmas. So families would volunteer to do the shopping, wrapping, and everything for certain families, or we would do the shopping, wrapping for them. We had tons of different elves that would help with wrapping. Andrea Bohill is one of them. She wrapped almost probably 1,000 of those presents alone herself in her living room.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to help support shelters, as well as different homes like Monica Place, Marillac, Haven House. All of those different places were able to get wrapped gifts. Thankfully to our beautiful community for being so generous. People did toy drives. Kids were having birthday parties, and instead of asking for gifts for themselves, they were asking for gifts for 509 Community Collective. Like, if that isn't just why we started this, like why we're doing this right here, it's inspiring kids, it's inspiring families.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if they don't do it through our initiative, I'm not even concerned. I just want people to go out and do it. Start your own things, do whatever you can. And New Year's Eve and Christmas was amazing. Christmas Eve day, we had a huge team of volunteers involved. We worked with the Unsheltered campaign, Leslie Crompton and her husband, John. We cooked. Volunteers helped to cook and drop off huge portions of food. And then we had a team of people packaging them into things. And we were able to give out almost 300 home-cooked Christmas dinners with turkey and ham and just everything, desserts and drinks and gifts and Christmas cards. And that went out all over the region. And the response that we heard was just, it could make you cry. It's just so beautiful to think that folks appreciate a handmade Christmas dinner that much. Just goes to show what we honestly take for granted so often. And then again, New Year's Eve, we were able to send out another 150 handmade meals all around the region to the different motels that are currently acting as shelters in the region, so that those folks that are living sheltered but unfed would still feel the love and have a little bit of something to get excited about and look forward to that day.
Is your group able to meet the needs of the community? For every request that comes in, are you able to help, or are there some that you have to sort of prioritize?
We definitely do need to prioritize right now due to being in a stay-at-home lockdown. We still do get requests for people who are needing a mattress or a dresser and things like that. But our administration team and Rick have made the cohesive decision to keep our folks safe right now, our volunteers. We don't want folks going into people's homes right now. With our food distribution program and the other outreach programs that we have, we're able to do that contactless. We're able to follow social distancing rules, and the public health is really happy about that. So we don't want to jeopardize our food ministry by getting in trouble for delivering a dresser or something like that. So we are prioritizing the need for food right now, because that is where people are most insecure. A lot of folks can't leave their house. A lot of folks don't have money to take a bus. There's all kinds of reasons why people are unable to do that. But so far, our incredible community has delivered. Anytime we let them know that the pantry's running low or that we need more food, people cover it. It's just incredible. I've never had to turn away someone for a food hamper as long as they're within the region. And they understand that we are only able to deliver one food hamper per month just due to resources and manpower. We've been able to facilitate every single one of those needs.
I know you talk about collecting tents and sleeping bags and hygiene products. Is there anything that you're in the greatest need for right now that people listening to this interview could go ahead and donate and would really help out the community collective?
Absolutely. So gift cards are great for groceries and for gas. A lot of folks that ask for hampers are celiac or vegan or this or that, or it's a mom that needs to get to doctor's appointments and doesn't have gas. And we're able to just drop a gas card in there, and that just goes a long way. Non-perishable food goods, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables go a long way around here. Tents, tarps, waterproof gloves are huge. That's the number one. Socks and waterproof gloves are the number one request we get. Also baby wipes. And the reason, it's not why you think, it's not for babies' bums. It's because the folks that are living on the streets, unfortunately, they don't have access to a shower. And that's just another area that we tend to take for granted. But these folks are, living in uncomfortable conditions. And in order for them to be able to try and take care of their personal hygiene, baby wipes are how they are able to do that. So whenever we see someone, like the other night, we were moving into our new storage locker, and I saw one of the storage units open, and I saw a bunch of stuff laying around it. And I kind of could sense that perhaps there was someone living in there. So I knocked on the door, and the gentleman came out, and we were able to really help him. And he was very excited about the baby wipes because he had mentioned, unfortunately, that he had not been able to bathe in months. And it was very notable that that was the case. And it's just little situations like that where those items go such a long way. We like to keep them on hand. We like to make sure that whenever someone, reaches out to us, we're able to get that need met right away. Because for most folks, it's usually an emergency situation. They don't usually reach out if they don't really need the help, So, yeah, we're really grateful for all the support that way.
Are you currently actively looking for volunteers, and what are some of the roles that a person could fill as a volunteer that maybe we don't often think of as a volunteer capacity, maybe administrative or some other way other than someone who isn't in Waterloo Region who wants to help, so other than going right out into the community and donating products?
Absolutely. So we do have some social media roles that we're looking to fill in terms of helping run our IG accounts. We also started a 519 community kids group, which is fantastic for families and kids to stay positive and feel an online connection. I know kids have been really struggling lately, and this is an excellent opportunity. So we're looking for folks to fill some of those roles. We're also looking for drivers to deliver hampers contactless to folks. So People can pick up a hamper labeled with the address and phone number on my porch, and then they can then drive it to the next location and drop it off there, and that person will then come and pick it up. It's safe, it's easy, it's allowed, which is, we're very grateful for that. And it's a way for folks to be able to be a part of something greater without having to do too much of effort. We also welcome folks to write handmade cards and encouraging notes, just generically made out. We include one with every single hamper we give out, every sandwich we hand out. Every time we go to outreach or the motels and hand out a dinner, we're handing out a card to them made from someone in the community. And we have heard the most beautiful things in response to that. Some people haven't ever received a card in their whole life, and they literally just burst into tears. It's such a beautiful thing, and it's something you can do at home right now. It's really inexpensive, it's safe, and people can make period packs with little pads, tampons, little encouraging notes, and a little candy in a Ziploc bag and drop them off to us. Care packages, those are all ways that people can get involved that are something they can do as a family, and they don't have to be out in the community around a lot of people doing it either. So we're trying to integrate lots of neat ways for people to get involved. We also have a pen pal initiative that we're working on as well to encourage members of the community. So we're really excited about all those things, but we're just constantly trying to think of new ways, and we're open to any suggestions too.
When you talk about creating the kits, specifically the period kits and stuff like that, that's something that, I have adolescent daughters. That would be great to get them involved, but also creating a generation that has a lot of empathy now, thinking about the things we take for granted. And also it's a distraction from all the, what we're going through during lockdown with homeschooling and, virtual interviews and the inability to be together. It's really nice to have something positive, like you were suggesting, to focus on and get us through all of this.
I agree. And just to interject there, we had a teacher make period packs with her male students, her teenage male students.
Oh, I love it.
And they even wrote out little notes. And I think that's just another neat thing, because now we're just educating people too, to be more understanding and compassionate, right? Like periods are just a thing. You can't get around it. And for folks that are on the streets, you can imagine how much more uncomfortable that would be to not have access to a washroom and running water. And to have a period pack that you can quickly slip in your backpack, that you don't have to lug a big box of pads around, is not only like more private and discreet, but it makes them feel like someone took the time to care about such an intimate part of their life on the streets. And I think that's really important. And we send out hundreds of those to shelters across the region every single month. And folks really love them. It's also easy for the folks at the shelter too, to just hand someone a little Ziploc instead of, a handful of tampons, which can be kind of embarrassing, so it's just a great way. And folks love making them too. Put on some Netflix and, make some period packs.
And it just feels good. You said something when we did our pre-interview, and it really stood out to me as well. I want to make sure that I read it before we end this. You say the need is great and many hands make light work. That's powerful. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about today?
I think you pretty much covered everything. I would just want to give a huge thank you to our community and my administration team. Like, I would be nothing without them, and they all bring such unique talents and abilities and characteristics to the table. It really just creates such a beautiful backup, like, behind the group, like the group will be successful because these are the people running it. I trust them all with my life, and I know that they all give solely because they want to. And that's just such a beautiful thing to meet that many people, 7 people who have the same ideology that you do about the community, and are all parents who are also working and homeschooling, but still bend over backwards to make these moves happen for folks. And I couldn't be more proud of my team.
And as we go through such dark times ourselves, not being able to see our aging parents or family that are across the country, it's something very positive to focus on. And like you said, finding those like individuals, it fuels you. How do we join your group? How do we get involved with the 519 Collective Community Collective?
Absolutely. So you can just type in the search on Facebook, 519 Community Collective. join the group. We'll add you in. There's a couple questions you need to answer to come in, but that's only for positive reasons. And we just want to make sure everyone's like-minded that wants to be in there and get involved. And we're also currently working on a website right now that is coming together so beautifully. We are really excited about that. It's going to host a lot of resources on there, a lot of opportunities, ways to donate, opportunities to get involved in, and we're really excited about that as well. So people can also email 519communitycollective@gmail.com if they have any questions or want to make a donation or are in need of anything at all. Just reach out to us and we'd be happy to connect.